But right now, though, let's have a look at the trending topics, and let's take a look at, I beg your pardon, the question of the day, which also happens to be the trending topic. What are your thoughts on day one, that was yesterday, of the joint debate on President Cyril Ramaphosa's State of the Nation address? Write to us at Morning Live, SABC. Anything jump out at you? Any moments you would like to highlight? Anything that you heard from the political parties in response to the President's State of the Nation address?
Yeah. All right, there we go. Hashtag SONA debate up first. And yesterday, the first day, quite eventful, I must say. I was explaining to you earlier because I watched, a bit of it. I didn't manage to catch all of it, but I did watch quite a bit of it. And at some level,
it was a lot.
It got rough. There were insults being traded, and it just got rough. Yeah,
I mean, I was just catching a couple of snippets on all of it, and I think one of the big talking points was really when Police Minister Becky Cele stood up and started, ripping into DA leader John Steenhuisen, and the EFF, Julius Malema, was having none of that because he really was sort of taking quite a low blow in terms of gender-based violence and saying that John Steenhuisen had had gone off with somebody in his office and left his wife and then went and married this lady, and then it was like, hang on a second, but why are you bringing it up? Is this the platform to bring it up? But anyway,
It was hectic, and then there was the exchange between Cele and the EFF also about that alleged assassination plot against what's his name, Dlamini, Marshal Dlamini, by the IFP allegedly, and that became a to and fro.
It was a lot. And
it
listen,
was a lot.
I think expect much of the same that's going to happen today. So nothing really is going to change. But I'm looking forward to your analysis. So you're going to be chatting a little bit about this.
We'll talk about. We'll get into a little bit more detail about what was discussed.
Indeed. All right. So that's SONA debate. Then Oscar Pistorius, and my goodness, when one actually thinks back, and this was a big talking point yesterday, Oscar Pistorius, can you believe that it was 10 years ago exactly yesterday on Valentine's Day when Oscar Pistorius shot his then girlfriend, the late River Steenkamp, and many people talking about this and just remembering what that day was like, and talking about Oscar Pistorius, and all talking about, I just cannot believe that was 10 years ago, and where we are now, where we were then, and it's like we're living in a different world. But goodness gracious me, I mean, that was just an awful, devastating event that really shook not only South Africa but the world, and an event that we still sort of just shake our heads at the thought of. Terrible story. It really
Absolutely. And remember how we were glued to our screens watching that trial, the battle of the attorneys there, Gerry Nel and Barry Roo, Judge Masipa. You see, that's how engrossed we were. We even remember the legal teams.
Every single moment. I mean, that really changed the course of the viewing of court processes, and being able to watch that live. And I mean, I will never forget, at that time, I was actually, when the verdict came out, we were on, listen to this, we were actually on a cruise in the middle of, where was it? We were in, would you believe me if I told you we were in Alaska? And they were giving out the verdict on the Oscar Pistorius trial, and there was an international network that was playing at the time that was showing it live.
That's how big it was.
That's how big this was. I mean, it was actually incredible.
Oscar was, this poster boy for athletes with disabilities, and therefore this thing just blew up.
Totally. Wow. But anyway, everybody has a story to tell about that one. And then let's look at our next trend. It's Tony Ford. Yeah.
Still, my heart.
I know.
My heart. I cannot. And again, I want to cry. I just want to hug the parents, AK's parents, Tibbs's parents. There's nothing in this world, I don't believe, that comes close to the loss of a child. No. Nothing.
No, it really...
It alters your life forever. There's you before the loss of a child, and there's you afterwards.
Yeah. And I imagine, I mean, that I don't want to imagine.
No,
if that's
you
okay.
don't.
I know you are.
You don't.
You one that's going. You are that next person. So I mean, but the reality is that this was a very sad moment for Tony Forbes, and he was of course talking about his son. Kenan Forbes, aka, who was shot and killed over the weekend, and then just laying out the sort of plans for the memorial and funeral, which is a very difficult thing to do. It really, really is. But many talking to that as well. All right, and then the final SANDF. So SANDF was I think there's a few things about it, but the one thing is that it's what's it when they have the parade?
Oh yeah, it's Armed Forces Day.
Armed Forces Day. Yeah,
Yes.
thank you. And I think, aren't we doing this we're sort of doing something in conjunction with Russia, and people were talking about this. There's a lot happening.
There's many things.
There's a little bit too much happening. I don't want to dig into it.
Let's not conflate them.
And then there was another story about salaries for the SANDF.
Yeah,
sort of
there's a lot going on with
air conditioning
SANDF.
systems critical for the functioning of the military's computer services, which are used to process salaries, and that's failed, which is putting a question mark on whether military personnel are going to be paid. So yeah, those are the two things that they're talking to.
Yeah. So for starting today until the 19th, it is, of course, Armed Forces Day, and in Richards Bay this year.